Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
Checklist for putting on Tefillin, Part 2. In Part 1, we discussed the general preparations before putting on Tefillin, as well as the order and many steps involved in putting on the Tefillin Shel Yad. We were now up to the step of putting on the Tefillin Shel Rosh. After having put on the Tefillin Shel Yad, wrapped it in the proper way around the bicep and forearm and then palm, which were steps 11 through 33 in the checklist, and we are now up to step 34. So at this point, you now remove the Tefillin Shel Rosh from the bag and unwrap it from its case, in contrast to doing so prior to this point. As we have already mentioned, you're not supposed to remove your Tefillin Shel Rosh until it's ready to be put on after putting on the Tefillin Shel Yad. Step 35, you look at the two shins of the Shel Rosh after you take it out of the case. This is done according to Kabbalah, and it holds Kabbalistic significance to look at the two shins, meaning the right and left shin of your Bayis Shel Rosh. Step 36, kiss the Tefillin. Many are accustomed to kiss also the Dalet of the Tefillin after taking it out of its case before putting it on. Step 37, how do you hold onto the Tefillin to raise it to place it onto your head? So we find a few different methods, and there is no one set custom that you must follow, and you can choose from any of the below. You can take hold of the Tefillin by holding on to the bias, having the straps dangle below, and then put it on your head. Although from the letter of the law you can also take hold of the straps and put it on that way onto your head, having the bias dangle, nonetheless, as the Achronim conclude, it is best not to do it this way, and you should rather take hold of the bias, as we explained before. Alternatively, you can do one of the other two customs we will now mention. Some approximate the Dalet to the Mabarta of the Tefillin, which is the back of the Tefillin of the bias, and put it on the head in that position with it like sandwiched together. After the bias rests in the front of the head, then take the Dalet and bring the Dalet to its proper place in the back of the head. So was the custom of the Rebbe Rashab. Others hold the knot of the Dalet in the right hand and the bias in the left hand, and put it on the head in this position, with first placing the knot of the Dalet by its proper place in the back of the head, and only afterwards do they bring the bias to the front of the head. So these are the various customs of how to lift it and place it on your head, and you can choose whichever one to follow. Step 38. Sfardim as well as Chabad Hasidim do not say a bracha upon putting on the Tefillin Shel Rosh unless they spoke of matters unrelated to the Tefillin, or answered Amen, or Baruch Hu, or Kedusha, in which case you have to say the bracha of Al Mitzvahs Tefillin over the Tefillin Shel Rosh. In the event that a blessing needs to be said due to a hefsek, due to talking in between, then the Seder is as follows. You first place the Tefillin Shel Rosh loosely onto the head, then you say the bracha of Al Mitzvahs Tefillin, and only after the blessing you tighten this grasp to your head. This order is followed every single day by Ashkenazim, who say the bracha of Al Mitzvahs Tefillin independent of the fact of if they talked. Step 39. The positioning of the bias of the Shel Rosh. The bias of the Shel Rosh is to rest exactly in the horizontal middle of one's head, starting from the beginning of one's hairline. The 2 points are emphasized here. Number 1, that no part at all of the tefillin should rest below the hairline. It is forbidden to do so and can invalidate the mitzvah. And number 2, it should be exactly in the center of the head, not towards the right and not towards the left. Step 40. We're now going to discuss the proper area of the knot of the Dalet. The knot of the Dalet is to rest by the end of the skull, the back of the head, which is the area at the end of the skull that still contains regular hair. No part of the knot may rest below the hairline at the back of the neck, as that is no longer considered the back of the skull and is an invalid area. The knot is to rest in the exact horizontal center of the back of the head, just like we said regarding the bias, and is not to be swayed neither to the right nor to the left. Practically, the directive of the Rebbe Rayatz is that the upper half of the Dalet is to be placed on the bone of the skull, while the lower half should be placed by the nape under the skull. Step 41. At this point, you should tightly fasten the straps onto your skull, as if they sit loosely on your head. They are considered as if they're not being worn. They have to be grasping onto the skull. Step 42. At this point, you can verify the proper position of the Shel Rosh by using a mirror, or motioning to a friend, or through estimation of your own. Meaning to make sure that your bias is in the center, that it's not below the hairline in any which way. Step 43. Dangle the right and left straps of the Shel Rosh over your chest. Step 44, make sure that the straps are facing the black side facing up and not the back side, which is usually white and not colored, or is colored but nonetheless is not considered the front of the straps and therefore should not be facing up. This is a mere hiddur and is not required from the letter of the law, and there's therefore no need to tell somebody to fix the straps in the event that the beige or white part is sticking up. However, having the straps dangle in front of you, that is a law, and that is required to be done. So if somebody forgot to do so, they should be told about it. Step 45. One is to be aware that the straps of the shalreish do not drag on the floor. For this reason, some are accustomed to tuck the straps into their belt or into their gartel in order to prevent it from touching the floor. However, this is not the accepted Chabad custom. We're now up to step 46, which is back to finishing the wrapping of the Tefillin Shel Yad. So while still standing, and this applies even for Sfardim, we take hold of the strap of the Shel Yad, unwind it from the palm, as if you remember in the earlier steps we mentioned that prior to putting on the Shel Rosh, we wrap the straps around the palm. So now we unwind it, although leaving a single wrapping around it to form a dalet shape on the back of the hand, as we already explained in the previous steps of the Shel Yad. Step 47. Take this strap and wrap it 3 times around the middle finger. This is a requirement according to the letter of the law. Now, how do we do it? So first we wrap 1 time on the bottom joint of the middle finger, then 1 time on the middle joint of the middle finger, and then once again 1 time on the bottom joint of the middle finger. As it states in Sefer Manhagim, the 2 wrappings in the bottom part of the middle finger are not to overlap, rather they rest on each other. However, the Rebbe was accustomed to wrap them in a way that they overlapped. Step 48. Wrap the remainder of the strap around the palm. Step 49. Tie the end of the strap by inserting it under the straps that are wrapped around the palm until it is well fastened. This is not just a hiddur, this is required from the letter of the law. You must tie the end of the straps. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily you have to literally make a knot with it. Simply inserting it and tucking it under the rest of the straps and making it be fastened that it won't unwind on its own is already good enough, and it suffices. And so was the Rebbe's custom. Step 50. One may now talk regularly. Until this point we mentioned, it is a hiddur not to talk, even after you put on the Tefillin Shel Rosh. Once you finish the knot, you fastened the strap by tucking it under the rest of the straps, you may now begin talking as usual. Step 51. The widespread Chabad custom in previous times was to cover the Tefillin Shel Yad with the sleeve, and so was the custom of the Rebbe Rashab, and so is the custom of many Chassidim even today. So at this point, if you haven't already done so, you should use your sleeve to cover your Tefillin Shel Yad. As we already mentioned, some already do so prior to putting on the Shel Rosh, as was the custom of the Rebbe Rashab. All the above is the Seder of putting on the Tefillin. In Mitzvah Part 3, we will discuss the Seder and checklist for removing the Tefillin and for wearing the Tefillin of Rabbeinu Tam.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.